Welcome to the Creative Me podcast, coming to you from Guernsey in the Channel Islands. This is episode 34, moving from Squarespace to WordPress to Squarespace. Hello and welcome to the show. This is episode 34 of the Creative Me podcast. If you follow me on social media, or indeed if you're a member of my email list, you'll know that I've been stressing out about my website over the past week to 2 weeks. And that's because I got hacked. Like seriously hacked, not just once, but 4 times in 1 week. Or at least that's what it appeared to be. Part of me wonders if it was only one hack, but the fixes that my host put in place weren't perhaps good enough and it was the same hack, just resurfacing, if you see what I mean. But anyway, I was hacked and it was not a pleasant experience. Let's rewind just a second though, and I can explain to you my pre-hack website setup. So some time ago, I moved my website setup from Squarespace to WordPress.org, and I podcasted about this topic. If you have a listen to episode 14, you will very much hear my justification for the move. So you can find that at martinellis.com/14. And in it, I explained one of my main reasons for moving to WordPress.org was because I have an intention to run online courses and I wanted to self-host all of that to get as much control as I possibly could. Also, it felt like a natural move insofar as you have more flexibility on WordPress.org. You can really customize your site beautifully with lots of really fantastic plugins and that sort of thing. So I made the move, and up until a couple of weeks ago, WordPress.org was working really well for me. Just to make the distinction, WordPress.org is the self-hosted version of WordPress. There is also the option of going for WordPress.com, which is the free WordPress hosted option. So I was going for the self-hosted option, and I've just explained my reasons why. So as I said, up until a couple of weeks ago, I was very happy. I was conscious that I was perhaps spending a little more time maintaining my site than I'd initially imagined. I relied on quite a few plugins, so there was constant updates to do, and I was also running into some issues with my website running quite slowly because, well, there were a variety of reasons. I wasn't compressing my images enough, I've learnt that now, and there were other issues relating to the plugins that were occasionally breaking my site. I was spending more time on my site than I needed to. And at the time it was like, okay, well, it is what it is. I knew that I should really be spending my time focusing on creating content, but my website was the heart of my business, so I didn't really have much of a choice. And then the hack happened. A few people have asked me how I knew that my website had been hacked, and thankfully, a couple of really lovely podcast listeners and people who look at my website dropped me an email and said, every time I click on links in your website, lots and lots of pop-ups occur. So it was like sort of 8 pop-ups at a time, and some of them were quite hard to close down. And the topics sort of shared on the pop-ups were like gaming adverts. Thankfully, nothing more offensive than that. That could have been really shocking and disastrous, but still a huge inconvenience, and people visiting my site couldn't access what they wanted to. So I am extremely grateful for those people who took the time to email me and say, look, I think something's wrong. Actually, in the morning, I had a suspicion that something wasn't quite right because I was trying to edit something in the back end of my site and things looked a little bit weird, but I hadn't thought about it more than that. So when I got emails from people who visited my site, it made complete sense. I got on the phone to my host, which is TSO Host, and we restored a backup from about 2 weeks ago. So that meant I had to recreate a couple of blog posts and that sort of thing, but the backup was restored and I was feeling relaxed and happy and everything was okay. Then the following day it happened again. And then I think I had a clear day and then it happened again and then it happened again. So 4 times in total. And on the 4th hack, I was like, no, this isn't for me. I cannot run a site where I have to do so many additional things to keep it secure. I need to outsource this. And, just to be completely transparent with you, I did have security measures in place. I do have complicated passwords. I use a sort of random password generator and I have a different password for everything. I had a variety of security plugins installed. I'm not totally naive when it comes to this sort of thing, but clearly I wasn't doing enough. And I started doing a bit of research and, WordPress is very hackable, it seems. So yeah, it was quite unpleasant, but I very quickly realised that I need to outsource the security element to my website, and I don't want to spend my time updating plugins and all that sort of thing. I want to be producing content. I've been working on a suite of online courses for ages now, and I just want to get them live. The hack showed me that I won't be hosting my online courses myself. I'll be using Teachable, which I've used to take a number of courses and I think it's a great platform. And because I made that decision, I then started thinking, well, do I need a WordPress.org site? Can I make things easier for myself? Can I outsource a chunk of everything? Shall I go back to Squarespace? And I did. I did a bunch of research. Squarespace has improved even more since I was last there. I purchased an online course to ensure that I could very quickly and easily build the sort of site I wanted. And the course that I purchased, and I highly recommend if you're thinking about moving to Squarespace, is by Megan Minns and Mariah Koz, and it's called Website in a Box. And I highly recommend it. It's a superb online course, very practical, and it's enabled me to create a site that I'm thrilled with in a weekend. I mean, it was a long weekend, really long, as I had to do quite a lot of reformatting to my blog posts and that sort of thing. But what I've got is a website that aesthetically is more pleasing than my WordPress site. And in terms of functionality, I have managed to replicate the vast majority of features I had on my WordPress site in Squarespace. That's taken a bit of work. I've tweaked around the CSS and things like that, and I've had to kind of work out a few hacks, which I will share in a later blog post. But I would say 95% of the features I had on my previous site, I've replicated in Squarespace. There are 2 things in particular that I don't have on the Squarespace site that I will miss, and that's a plugin called Simple Podcast Press, which enabled me to have some really good social sharing buttons around my podcast player, but, it's not the end of the world. And the biggest one is King Sumo, which is an app I used to run a giveaway not that long ago, and it was a viral giveaway. This app is superb. Sorry, not an app, it's a plugin. This WordPress plugin is amazing, King Sumo giveaways. And as such, I am going to retain a very basic install of WordPress.org so that if I want to run a viral giveaway in the future, I will simply keep that WordPress site for viral giveaways. So it'll be one page and I'll be able to thoroughly health check it before I launch a giveaway. So that's my kind of workaround for the Squarespace move. So with the exception of those 2 features, I've built a site which exceeds the look and feel I had of the old site on WordPress and equals the functionality. So it was a massive learning experience. one reflection I did have was that a lot of the advice I hear given to newish creative entrepreneurs who want to create a website, a lot of the advice I hear is go to wordpress.org. You'll have all the flexibility, it's safe, you own everything, it's easy to use. Well, I'm a pretty tech-savvy girl, and I really had a bit of a struggle with wordpress.org. So I think advising newish creative entrepreneurs to take that route is not ideal. I have always maintained that Squarespace is a cracking starting point for anyone, but now I recognise that it isn't just a starting point. I've been able to create something that really meets my needs and hopefully will for a very long time. So that's just one reflection I had on the experience. Has this ever happened to you? Have you been hacked? Have you moved from Squarespace to WordPress to Squarespace like me? What are your thoughts on the subject? I'd love to hear from you. Hop into the Lightbulb Club if you want to chat about this. The Lightbulb Club is my exclusive Facebook group, and the quick and easy way to find it is to type this URL into your browser, thelightbulb.club, or hop over to Facebook and search for it. I'd love to have you in there for chatting. Or just give me a shout on social media. My links are all on martinellis.com at the very bottom of the site. And of course, I would love it if you hopped over to the brand spanking new martinellis.com and had a little look round and left a comment on the show notes blog post for this episode. It would be very, very nice to hear from you. That's all from me for today. I hope you've enjoyed the episode, and I do hope you'll join me next week. Thanks for listening.